Hello, everyone. I'd just like to say thank you for all the great comments lately, the great views, and the subscriptions. We have today with us a really exciting guest. Before we get to her, I wanted to just let you know that we just hit 1,500 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Very exciting to me. But even more exciting is the fact that every day I'm getting new comments, new messages from people that are escaping the watchtower. So it's very encouraging to me, and I just wanted to share that with you and let you know that what we're doing, whether all you do is just support the channel and even make just a comment or a thumbs up or a like, these are all ways that we can help support just people learning the truth about the truth, and that's what we're trying to do, and expose the lies and the falsehoods of the watchtower. Now, as I mentioned, we have an interview today with a very special lady by the name of Nancy Sage. Now, Nancy is an author. She wrote a book about getting her daughter out of the Jehovah's Witness cult and out of the watchtower. The title of her book is Going Undercover to Rescue My Daughter from the Cult of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, that is a very striking title. And right away, it gets me interested. I don't know about you out there that's listening. Nancy, thanks for being with us today on the channel.
Well, I appreciate your invite, Eric. I'm looking forward to it.
Nancy, did you ever think in your wildest dreams that you would be writing a book about going undercover someday?
No, not really. It's just one step at a time, Eric.
One step at a time, that's for sure. I mean, what made you decide to write this book? And then just give us a quick summary of what it's about for those that don't know.
Well, I wrote the book because I was encouraged by my younger daughter. I have two daughters and a son. And Gloria, the oldest daughter, is the one that I wanted to rescue, along with her two daughters. But at the time of thinking about writing the book it came from my younger daughter, Tammy. She was always a support to me, even when I was undercover. So I was going through a tough time after my rescue was completed with Gloria. I went through some difficult times, and one day Tammy said, "Mama, you need to write down all of the events that took place when you were undercover. This will help so many people, and it will help you. It'll be good therapy for you." And I said, "Well, boy, that sounds right." So I did, and I started writing by hand, just writing down all my thoughts, and it just kind of went from there, Eric.
Well, that is a wonderful way to start an interview and to start a book, and we are thankful to her for urging you to do this. Now, I can say when I got the book and started to read it, it was a page-turner. I read virtually the whole thing in one evening. I couldn't put it down. It's a very good story. And I think your candor, your honesty, it shines through. This is not a made-up story. This all actually happened, and I think anybody that reads the book is going to see right away you can't make something like this up. So what what basically happened? Just in a few paragraphs, what happened? How did you do what you did?
Well, it first came about after we resigned. My husband, my son, and my daughter Tammy, we all resigned in 1983, except for Gloria. She was already married and had the two daughters. And before we actually signed the document of resignation, we tried to talk to Gloria and help her reason why we felt that this religion was a cult and that we were going to resign. And she just was so adamant about not doing and not following our lead there. So consequently, when we did resign in 1983, the policy from the governing body, the policy of shunning one if they are declared an apostate or if they volunteered or was disfellowshipped, I should say, that policy was enforced by everybody. no matter where you go in the world, with the members of Jehovah's Witnesses, they would shun you because of your stand. So this started then a journey for 10 years where the family, we tried in so many ways to help Gloria understand that this religion was a cult, and we tried to skirt around their shunning policy. But she remained firm because she felt that if she was firm, we would come back and we'd be saved in her eyes. So I had a series of nervous breakdowns because of it, because I love my children so much. I'm a typical mother that just couldn't comprehend of losing her. So that began a 10-year journey of a terrible loss with Gloria.
Just to get across to our listeners what we're talking about here, there's one little snippet of the book I'd like to share. It's on page 35. It's talking about your teenage daughter Tammy was thinking, she was kind of on the fence. You and your husband, and I believe her brother, had resigned, said, we don't want to be witnesses anymore. Tammy continued to go for a little bit, and here on page 35 it says, one day she was visiting one of her best friends, a devoted witness. Earlier that day, Tammy had been remembering the Jim Jones cult story. She asked her friend if she would comply if the governing body made an unusual request or command that she must drink poison Kool-Aid. Her friend answered that she would do it because, as she explained, she believed the governing body is God's only voice. So, needless to say, Tammy woke up at that point, as the book goes on, and says she realized she needed to go along with her mom and dad and the rest of the family, and realizing that this is a dangerous religion to be in.
She was about 16 then, and old enough to understand what was going on and what our issues were. And we as parents did not want to force her to make a decision one way or the other. We felt that she was old enough to, on her own, to make that decision as to whether to resign, or if she hasn't been baptized as yet, she could continue on and be baptized. So we had a nice, serious talk with her when we left that decision up to her, and she said, Mom, she says, I'm going to look into it seriously. She said, so what she did was, because she had so many friends in the congregation too, she didn't want to take any serious steps, unless she really understood what she was doing. So what she did was, she got a elder's wife and asked her for a Bible study. So they had a personal Bible study together. And Tammy would ask pertinent questions regarding our issues so that would be clear in Tammy's mind. And so every important issue that came up, scriptural doctrine or policy, Tammy would ask her. And when she didn't have any answers, this elder's wife, Tammy could see that they didn't have any answers, and the elder's wife would always say, well, we have to leave that up to Jehovah. In due time,
wait on Jehovah.
Yeah, the questions will be answered. So it was after that period of time that Tammy took to study the Bible with her that she approached her best friend and asked her if she would take the Kool-Aid. And then that did it for Tammy. She said, that's it.
Yeah.
So that made us very proud and pleased, that she took the time to examine everything first before she made a decision.
And you know what's really chilling about this story? This took place around, I would imagine, then 1983, 1984, when Tammy asked this Kool-Aid question.
Yes,
Well, just last weekend, at all the Kingdom Halls of Jehovah's Witnesses all around the earth, they studied the November 15th, 2013 Watchtower, And it had a chilling directive right in it. I'm going to just read one quote from this magazine that the witnesses just studied last weekend.
Oh, my.
The Watchtower said, quote, "We must be ready to obey any instructions that we receive, whether these appear sound from a human standpoint or not." End quote.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah. And so they are still perpetuating this notion that these witnesses need to just blindly listen to and believe and do anything that comes from their leadership, and that's still going on
them,
today.
aren't they?
Oh yeah, they're increasing the indoctrination. That's my opinion. Now, Nancy, if you would do me a favor, could we backtrack just for a minute, and could
Yes.
you give me your background briefly of how you learned about Jehovah's Witnesses, and you were raised in it, and how your upbringing came, and how you and your husband kind of came to be right in the middle of the witnesses?
I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and my mother had a Bible study during the time of Judge Rutherford. So that takes you back a little bit. But both my father and mother then became very, very serious and devoted witnesses. They were called Bible students back then, Eric. And 1931 was when Judge Rutherford actually introduced, changing the name from Bible study students to Jehovah's Witnesses. So, yes, I was raised as one. I personally was very spiritual because my mother and father influenced me in that way, and I was a very happy child in that respect. So I married my husband when I was 18 in 1952, and he was raised by his grandmother that was a devoted reader of actually Russell, Charles Taze Russell, the first president. And so he was a Jehovah's Witness when I met him. And there was quite a big group of teenage JWS at that particular time when I was growing up. And we'd all get together to go roller skating, ice skating, things like that. And that's how I met my husband. It was in Omaha, Nebraska. He went to the North Unit. They called it units instead of congregations back then, and I went to the South Unit. So that's like I say, is how we met. And we went from there. We were both very devoted and very serious about our belief.
Right. Apparently then, you mention it just very briefly in the book, your husband became an elder, and so you were probably a exemplary elder's wife, so you were right in the middle of all the witness things, so you become an expert on being a witness and what the witnesses are about when you're an elder and an elder's wife.
Yeah, absolutely. And for 15 years he was an elder. And most of that time he was the sole elder of the congregation. It was before they instituted more than one elder for each congregation.
Right.
And, of course, he sat on many committees, judicial committees. And so I knew the routine. I knew the kind of questions. I knew everything inside and out, being an elder's wife. And we were both very, very, like I said before, devoted. We took our position there in the congregation very serious. I really, truly loved being an elder's wife, taking the lead. I had many Bible studies, home Bible studies with non-members, and brought a lot of them, into the so-called truth that they called it. Mm-hmm. So it was a joyous time because we were happy at doing what we thought was right, even though we were blinded. But during that time of that 15 years, Jerry, my husband, he saw a lot of things go on behind the scenes that the average member didn't see. The policies of the overseer and district overseer. And, it was just so man-made, you might say, way of conducting business behind the scenes. So he was disgruntled about that. And then one thing led to another with more questions. And that's how it developed into us eventually resigning.
Okay, well, it's appreciated to kind of have that handle on where you and your husband were at. So I'm going to recap, and then we're going to flash forward a little bit. So you and most of your family disassociate yourself in 1983.
Yeah, we resigned officially.
Yes, yes. So about 10 years goes by. It's 1993. And then another cult was on TV in Waco, Texas, and this really hit you in the heart, did it not? And maybe you could talk about that.
Yes, well, during that 10 years, Eric, I just was not emotionally ready to do anything other than what we did, is write letters. I had a couple of surprise visits. My daughter lived in Tennessee. We lived in Southern California. It was hard to communicate with her, but I made one particular surprise visit. And that didn't work out well because of her husband. And during that time, we discovered he was a child molester, too. He molested our daughter, Tammy, our youngest daughter, when she was 11. So I went there for that reason, too, as well as try to talk to my daughter. And he ordered me off the steps, called the police. But I went to the newspaper, and the local newspaper, and found a wonderful, wonderful reporter, and she reported everything that took place, and how the Jehovah's Witnesses have this shunning policy. So she put my article on the front page on Mother's Day about 5 months later. And they got an awful lot of response, wonderful response from people that told me to be strong, and they were for me, and they couldn't believe that the Watchtower Society did that to families. So, in that respect, it was really great. That was 3 years before I actually went undercover.
Mm-hmm. First, I want to make a comment. When I read that part of the book, I was biting my fingernails, and I was worried for you, and I was struck by the courage that it took for you to go there by yourself to confront this evil man who is your son-in-law.
Yes.
And then, after getting such a cold reception, you march down to the newspaper, and you start making phone calls, and then you contact the newspaper, and then you go down there and tell them what's going on. That took a lot, in my opinion, that took a lot of courage. And
that was a first for me, and I was nervous at the time, but this lady reporter, I just loved her. She just had so much natural humor, and so loving and, sympathetic, and that it really helped me through it.
I would love to see a scan or a copy of that newspaper article. I wonder if that's out floating around out there somewhere, or do you have it still?
I don't. I believe I took many copies, and I have a portion of it in the book, so it gives the reader some idea, and how nice that write-up was.
Yeah. Okay, so in 93, you saw what happened in Waco, Texas, David Koresh, and all those poor people that died, and then you realized what?
I realized I was ready and determined to confront the Judicial Committee. This is what held me back for a long time, because in actuality, Eric, their elder arrangement is set up in a way to scare all the members. I always, in fact, in the book, I liken them to the Gestapos during World War II, because of their position. They have the ability in the eyes of the members to disfellowship you if they were not pleased with their meeting with you. If they didn't feel you were repentant, ready for that kind of confrontation. Well, when I saw this news about Waco and how the federal and state officials were going after cults, I got scared, and I wanted to do something and to help Gloria get out of the cult before, if it was going to happen with Jehovah's Witnesses. So by that time, Eric, I was ready. I was determined. I wasn't going to hold back anymore. And it just went like clockwork after that, after I made that decision.
Yeah, I know. In the book, you actually mentioned that it only took about 5 months. You went back to the hall, you sat in the back, you had your head held low, you met with the elders, told them that you wanted to come back into the truth, and within 5 months you were back in. And apparently the Holy Spirit, capital H, capital S, was nowhere to be found to keep you from getting brought back in so quickly, since you were undercover and you didn't believe any of the Watchtower baloney at all.
No,
You were,
I was a witness for 40 years, and then being an elder's wife. No, I wasn't blinded anymore, and I wasn't under their mind control anymore. I had one purpose, and that was to rescue my daughter, and I did it step by step, just by the book. And I was able to do that only because of my previous experience with the Witness organization. I approached them about being reinstated, and I played their game, and I answered all their questions that was the way that I knew that they would need to hear. But I found out right away that I had 2 judicial committees to confront. A committee from the original congregation in Southern California. That's where we resigned. Excuse me if I'm getting a little hoarse here. And also the congregation committee in Las Vegas, where we were residing then. So they both had to make a decision as to whether I was worthy to be reinstated or not. So I was a little worried about that until I found out that the presiding elder of the Judicial Committee in California was an old friend. And I knew him. He spent a lot of time with our family. He loved my husband. And I knew him. So I knew he would be on my side. So that relieved me. And I really went forward with my probation period with confidence.
Well, it worked, and you got reinstated, and then, of course, now you had a chance to be reunited with not only your daughter Gloria and your granddaughters, who you didn't know, but also your mother as well, and I'm sure others that you were friends with. So that must have been kind of bittersweet for you, because you knew that you weren't going to be staying in that long anyways, but at least you got a chance to reacquaint and get to be with some of your family again, so that must have been lovely.
Yes, it was wonderful. My mother arranged a reunion for us. She still was in Southern California, so that's where I went, and Gloria wanted to come along, and so that worked out beautiful. And we had a wonderful reunion, and I knew I couldn't do anything to help my mother at that time with me being involved with Gloria. So I just had to, just show her as much love as I possibly could during that time.
Yes, and you were focused on the goal in front of you. Then you start making trips, and then you eventually end up staying at your daughter and son-in-law's home. Is that correct? And then things start to heat up from there.
It sure did. But I knew with me living in Las Vegas, and that's where Tammy, my younger daughter, lived too with her family. So Gloria living in Georgia, I knew that being apart like that, I could only do so much on the phone or in the letters. And I had to have that one-on-one time with her, private time, to bring up things that only her and I can talk about. And I could direct her thinking that way. So I asked her, if she'd like me to come and stay for a little while. And because we had been apart for so long, and she just cried and was so happy. So that's how that got started, with me staying with Gloria in Georgia. And that took place after the reunion in California with my mother. And the ball started rolling then. It did, because her husband then, took matters into his own hands, and all hell broke loose.
Well, anybody that is trying to hide their evil ways or hide their secret lifestyle is going to be threatened by someone like you, or just by the truth or the light of day in general. So it turns out that your daughter's husband is continuing, or had been continuing, in his proclivities, and had continued to abuse.
Yes, no, absolutely. Of course, Gloria's daughters were in their teens, and her oldest daughter that was molested by him was put into a state home for the girls because she kept running away, and naturally so, which we understood why later on, and it was because she wanted to get away from her father. It was a tragic time for them, just tragic. Gloria was, with the help of the therapist that Gina had in the state home, Gloria learned what happened and why she did run away from home when she was 15. Mm-hmm. And it came out that she was molested. And so Gloria did what she could, being, controlled and mind controlled by the organization and the elder arrangement. She still went to them and asked them for help. And they said that, of course, the policy is you need 2 witnesses for anything like that. So she was stymied. She really did need my help, and I got the ball going when I was with her.
And we are very glad that you did. Now, Nancy, tell me this, was your son-in-law, this pedophile, was he serving as a Jehovah's Witness elder some of this time, all of this time, or what?
Some of the time. And the time that when Gina, the daughter, was running away at 15, he had arranged to have her disfellowship so that would quiet her, that would keep her from, being believed in if she ever accused him. And so it was during that time he was an elder. But later on, the other congregations, especially when they moved to Georgia, he was just serving as what they call a ministerial servant.
Once again, the capital H, capital S, Holy Spirit was nowhere to be found when this man was appointed as an elder, because certainly with that kind of a horrible record under his belt already, if God was directing things, that never would have taken place.
Right.
Okay, so I just had to get that out. I just couldn't stop. I just couldn't help myself. Anyways, it's not about me anymore. It's about you, Nancy Sage. So what happened next? So things are heating up. All hell breaks loose, and your daughter starts to muster up the courage to do more.
Yes. We had Bible studies together, personal Bible studies, to prepare for the meetings for each week. And I would ask, pertinent questions, insignificant really, but it was little seeds that I was hoping that would help her start thinking on her own. And I did that. And I had to be very careful, though, Eric, because I'm supposed to be a believer again, a Jehovah's Witness, a member. How could I get too strong? And so I had to be very careful there. But I wanted to plant some seeds as I went along if I could. And it went very well that way.
So you're operating under some constraints, and you have to be very careful about how you word everything, and you can't speak against the organization because Jehovah's Witnesses are like bloodhounds, and if they sniff any hint of that a mile away, they'll immediately start to put their armor up.
Right. I'll tell you what really helped me, Eric. It was when I noticed that she needed more income, and I taught her how to have her own home business, and it was selling office supplies. And I knew that would give us a one-on-one time together, and this was what I was looking for, because after we got established with her home business, we called it Business Cards Tomorrow. It was all office supplies, and we'd go and source it to the retail stores. So it was just her and I, and her other daughter, Julia, the younger daughter, she was in school. So that gave us private time. And so I initiated it by telling her more about the rape that her husband did with our younger daughter, because her suppressed memories came to the surface later on. And after one time, she did tell Gloria that he was starting to bother her. Well, she couldn't remember all the details, but later she did. So I was bringing Gloria up to date on that. And so Gloria, as soon as she got home, she went right to her husband and told him of my new revelation with her. And she even went to the elders again. She wanted a scriptural divorce because she still was a believer. So this took, quite some digging and fortitude on my part to be patient and to really work it as much as I could. And this is what developed. When it got too hot for her husband, he brought in his personal friends for a whole week, and then hell did break loose then. But it helped Gloria be strong, and she took her stand against her husband at the time. And then the journey of being undercover didn't take too long after that.
Well, I tell you what, Nancy, I hope that many of the people that are listening and that listen to this channel will consider getting a copy of the book. Going Undercover to Rescue My Daughter by Nancy J. Sage. If you punch that into Amazon, it's going to come right up. I'll have a link in the description that anyone can click on so that they can also read the article that I wrote. I gave a little book review on your book a month or two ago on JWStruggle.com.
I really appreciate that. It was very well done, Eric.
Well, thank you. And, it was easy to do. As I read your book, I started just underlining, dog-earing certain spots, putting little sticky notes into it because there was so many little things in there that I wanted to remember. So then I just started taking notes, and then it was easy to write the book review on the blog.
Yeah, because this was so well written.
Yeah, and then I did a summary of each chapter, but the last, I think 2 or 3 chapters, I decided to take out the summary, and I just put in brackets, removed so as not to spoil the ending.
Oh, okay.
So I'm thinking that we've told a lot of the story. If it's okay with you, I'd kind of like to leave the last little bit to be found by people in the book at this point, because it's such a great story, and I think everybody's already getting the really good flavor of what happened and what you went through. Okay.
Actually, there was a lot that developed there during that week with his friends and him, But, like you say, we'll leave that for the readers to read later.
It's just really been fun talking to you and getting a little bit more detail than I had before. Maybe, Nancy, would it be okay to skip forward again to the present day? Things are going well, time passes, and your family has been able to be mostly reunited. Has that been nice these last several years since then?
Well, I'm happy to say that everything went so well. I'm going to give you a little update. Gloria, in the last 3 or 4 years, been going to a local college. she wants to be a professional nutritionist. And so she's been involved with that in her life. She's not married now. Her oldest daughter, Gina, is married with one son. And she also goes to college. She wants to be a writer. And the other younger daughter, Julia, she's not married. She has one daughter, though, and she is right now a professional artist. So, and they're as happy as anybody can be, you know, in their life. And I can't be more happier that I accomplished what I did.
And also, you had the support of your husband and the rest of your family in doing this difficult task as well.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I lived with very close to Gloria and Gina in Missouri for a few years, and because of my husband's illness, we moved to Twin Falls, Idaho, where our daughter Tammy and family live, and she wanted to help also with his health. So that's where we're at right now, and we're all just doing just fine.
Doing just fine because of a lot of tenacity and a lot of courage. Like you said, any mother would do what they need to do to help one of their children. Just an inspirational story, Nancy. It's been just a lot of fun talking with you. I really appreciate you letting us pick your brain a little bit, and also...
Oh, absolutely, and I always enjoy telling my story. And I have that second edition out now that has more vital information, especially the court cases that has been brought up against the governing body because of their secret files that they hold. You know, they are no longer now legally have the right to do that. Mm-hmm. So the children that have been abused throughout the congregations in the world of Jehovah's Witnesses are going to have now the freedom to go to the authorities for help and get some relief for the victim.
Mm-hmm. And that is a wonderful offshoot and result of the efforts that a lot of us are making.
There's a lot more added information in my second edition.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I appreciate you mentioning that. Right on the front of the cover here, it says it's the second edition, so you're able to revise and update some things, which just makes the book that much more current. Well, Nancy, thank you again for talking with JWStruggle and with me. I appreciate it.
Well, and I appreciate talking to you, Eric. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The order is rapidly fading, for the times they are a-changing.